The literacy rate in the country is 100%. They don't print their own money here. The unemployment rate is 2.5%, and the country's literacy rate is 100%. There is no airport here, and there is no rail transport either. There are about 200 kilometers of paved roads in total. The country has never had an army, nor a ministry of the armed forces. There are no prisons either, lawyers and their activities are prohibited. Crime is one of the lowest in the world, 154 crimes per 100,000 inhabitants. Post in the country is free for everyone. The country ranks second in terms of the number of tourists per capita, second only to the Vatican. The average life expectancy is 83 years, according to this indicator. The country is in second place in the world and is second only to Japan. High life expectancy is promoted by the cleanest air and a cold but generous climate, 300 sunny days a year. As well as high quality medical care, which is provided free of charge to all working citizens and their families. Transactions on the territory of the country can be concluded in any currencies, since there is no currency control as such. The vast majority of the territory is made up of mountains, forests, rivers, lakes and meadows. The environment is protected here, and nature is incomparable. Any tourist feels easy and comfortable. Everywhere there is excellent service and friendly people. Everything is cultural and civilized. You don't really want to leave there. This is Andorra. It is not easy to find Andorra on the map the first time. Small territory, only 468 square kilometers. Lurking between huge neighbors, Spain and France, whose size is 1,000 times larger. Little Andorra is amazing and attractive from all sides. People live here for a long time, the army is not needed, the climate is pleasant, and life is calm and measured. Residents here are laconic and do not like to stand out from the crowd even with the color of their clothes. Merged in love with the local stone landscape, houses with discreet streets do not shine with bright advertising and are animated by tourists only in the evening. But, nevertheless, it is here, according to shopping experts, that the best goods are at the best prices in Europe. The country is a duty-free zone, so it is not surprising that in stores you can find things of famous brands with a cost of 20 to 40% cheaper than in the same stores in Europe. Andorra has been a very prominent country, especially in the last half-century. Already in the 1960s, hippies, in the midst of the military and nuclear escalation of the Cold War, in the United States, he praised the long tradition of peace, neutrality and demilitarization of the Principality of Pyrenees. The reason was that Andorra spent $4.90 a year on weapons and, unlike other large countries, it was a safe country. Moreover, in this decade, Andorrans have experienced a huge improvement in the quality of life thanks to trade, favorable due to its status as a tax haven and smuggling, and tourism, where sports facilities for skiing are already being established. The need for labor, driven by economic success, caused strong emigration from Spain and, to a lesser extent, from Portugal, which would eventually outnumber the country's population. Today, the Principality of Andorra earns mainly from tourism, which is facilitated by its geographical position. The country is located between the Pyrenean slopes, which have many ski resorts. The world-famous resort of Andorra La Vella is the capital of Andorra, and golf clubs. In addition, the absence of many tax duties on the export of goods allows you to keep prices low, which contributes to trade tourism. Profitable shopping attracts not only tourists from neighboring Spain and France, with which Andorra has common borders, but also guests from other European countries. Every year, the dwarf state with an area of 467 square kilometers and a population of 90,000 people is visited by more than 10 million tourists, which makes it possible to call the country one of the most touristic in the world. The last 10 centuries in Andorra there were no serious military clashes, so the need for an army disappeared by itself. The police are quite enough to resolve rare conflicts between residents or roaming tourists. Accordingly, the professions of jailers and lawyers died out. Andorra is linked to France and Spain. This means that while formerly an independent state, Andorra still entrusts part of its powers to two neighboring states, from which two co-rulers are formally appointed, the President of France and the Bishop of Urgell from Spain. In reality, the country is ruled by the Parliament, the unicameral General Council of the Valleys of Andorra. At the same time, it should be noted that Andorra is not part of the European Union. Spain and France are responsible for the external security of the country. Today, the country's population is approximately 50-50. These are natives and immigrants. Visitors are attracted by low taxes and high confidence in banks. Comfortable living conditions play an important role for those wishing to move to this small state, a warm climate, clean mountain air and, as a result, a high life expectancy in the world, 83.5 years. The tourism industry provides 80% of the country's gross domestic product. Tourism is the main revenue item of the state budget. The most popular ski season, which lasts from early December to mid-April. In summer, tourists are attracted by picturesque mountain landscapes and monuments of the Middle Ages. In the capital of Andorra la Vella alone, there are 40 hotels and the same number of spas. The development of tourism, which the authorities began to stimulate in the middle of the 20th century, attracted foreign investment to Andorra and contributed to the intensification of construction and the rise in land prices. Interestingly, there are no airports and railways in Andorra. There is only road transport, and the first road connecting the country with Spain was built in 1911, and with France in 1933. But if you take a closer look at the economic system of Andorra, it becomes clear that Andorra is actually based on the principles of libertarianism. All this has led to the fact that Andorra today is a European tax haven, and the banking sector plays an important role in the economy. For the same reasons, by the way, the trade in luxury goods is flourishing in the country. And also Andorra is a duty-free zone, which makes it possible to purchase various goods with discounts from 25 to 40% of the cost of similar ones in Spain or France. And here we are again returning to tourism. Most foreigners come to Andorra for a day from neighboring France and Spain to make bargains at significantly lower prices. In Andorra, prices are incredibly low for the most popular products, which has become the reason for the development of shopping tourism. According to those who have visited Andorra, the new Andorra la Vella, the modern district of the capital, is more like a huge duty-free shop. Here it is worth mentioning the issue of currency and how it was solved in Andorra. Officially, the country is not part of the Eurozone, but it uses the euro on its territory. There is no own currency. It can be said that Andorra entered the Eurozone on a whim. Even without being interested in the opinion of other European countries on this issue and without conducting any negotiations. At the same time, transactions on the territory of the country can be concluded in any currency, since there is no currency control as such in Andorra. And the special tax regime of the country allows you to find any acceptable options. Most small shops and restaurants accept dollars as payment without question. Credit cards of the world's leading systems and travelers' checks are freely used. The difficult geographical position of the country, together with the need to implement remote banking services and provide communication for tourists, has led to the fact that Andorra has an incredibly well-developed telecommunications. By the end of 2010, every home in the country had a fiber optic internet connection with a minimum speed of 100 megabits per second. There is no private ownership of land, pastures, forests and mineral resources in Andorra. They constitute the property of either the state or communities, which distribute land for arable land and pastures among private individuals. Since the Middle Ages, the profits from the sale of meat and pharmaceutical products have been received by the treasury of the principality and have been one of the sources of its income. There is no need to talk about industry as a branch of the economy in Andorra. In principle, there are a number of small enterprises that do not play a significant role in the economy of the state. The reserves of iron ore, which in the past contributed to the development of primitive metallurgy in industrial terms, were depleted at the end of the last century, and now Andorra is forced to import metal products from other countries. One of the most significant branches of the Andorran economy is the production of electricity. Tiny power plants have been built in different parts of the country on small but turbulent rapids, supplying electricity to the surrounding villages. The largest of them, according to Andorran terms, with a capacity of 26.5 megawatts, is located in the city of Escaldes on the La Valira River. The electricity it generates is partially exported to Catalonia. Great development in recent years has received a craft associated with an increase in foreign tourism, the production of local souvenirs. Visitors to Andorra enjoy the success of Andorran wines made from local grapes. They are sealed in small glass bottles with a wide mouth and a narrow spout, as well as huge cigars up to half a meter long and weighing almost a whole kilogram. Speaking about the current prosperity of Andorra, It should be remembered that for many centuries since 1278 it was a closed, impoverished country, whose inhabitants lived off modest agriculture and modest smuggling across the Spanish-French border. Only after the Second World War in the 1950s did the transformations begin in the country that turned it into one of the most prosperous countries in Europe. But for this, little Andorra needed, first of all, to open up to the world and to base its economy on the principles of libertarianism. How is it that a mountainous little country that got rid of the remnants of feudalism only in 1993, without oil, gas and diamonds, feels great and has a gross domestic product of $50,000 per person and develops further? Don't waste your reserves. They simply don't exist. The standard of living is now clearly higher even than in neighboring Spain, which at one time had a bunch of colonies around the world. How and why did they succeed? Maybe it's all about the people themselves? In culture or tradition? We are waiting for your comments. That's all. Like, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell. See you soon, friends.